What's up, Duderinos? Welcome back to the Game Addicts Podcast, a show where we talk about modern and retro video games. I'm your Player 1, Brando. Joining me here, sort of, is our Player 2, Mike.
Hello.
And you are kind of on the mend from some oral surgery, and yet you're still here. You're still trucking through.
Yes, so my speech will be very limited to something I'm very passionate about. So if it's kind of like, I'm not saying anything.
Well, and that's okay, because it won't be just me talking today. We have a Player 3 in the mix joining us via a LAN connection on the good old Halo parties like we used to do.
Yeah.
Across the pond, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Jason Brett.
Good day, people of the internet. How's everybody doing, man?
Oh, dude, I am doing fantastic. I'm doing fantastic. It's great to be on the air with you. I've been friends with you for quite a few months now. And we've really bonded over something that you have a podcast about. And
yes, is it relevant to plug this?
Go ahead and plug away, my friend.
Please do.
Okay. I have a podcast with a fellow American friend called Chuck Hoskins called Podcast in Stone. It's basically a passion project about a heavy metal band called Iced Earth. I'm sure, Brandon, you know who they are.
Absolutely, and I'm sure
looking at your T-shirt, nobody can see your T-shirt, but looking at your T-shirt, I'm sure you know who they are.
If you've listened to the show, if you've watched the show, you're going to see Iced Earth logos with my shirt, with my flag. I even had a couple episodes there where I had a couple of big vinyl pickups.
Yep.
I brought them on the show, and in fact, for the first 79 episodes, the first 7 or so was an 8-bit version of Dracula. Of a song from Iced Earth, and then after that, I transitioned into 8-bit 1776, a little bit more lively. And but I'm a super huge fan of your show. I'm a backer of your show. It's also a passion thing for me, and I literally enjoy your content. I literally enjoy hearing you guys dissect, and even when you guys disagree, I love watching you guys kind of go back and forth. I love your chemistry.
I really appreciate it, man. I really do. Like the fact that you're a Patreon backer, that means like it blows. Like I look at my Patreon backers, it blows my mind that people want to, support something that, support my love for expressing my love for Iced Earth. Like to support that in a monetary fashion is just insane.
I was going through my some of our YouTube comments. And I remember a very old YouTube comment we got a long time ago, a couple years ago, and some guy goes, clicked on a podcast video, hear 8-bit Dracula, instant thumbs up. And I'm like, hell yeah. And then just last week here on the show, I read a comment from a guy that's like, I'd been listening to your podcast for about a day or so on Spotify, so I came here to put some faces to the voices. And he goes, and I love it even more now to know that you guys are heavy metal fans. Saw that Iced Earth flag in the background. And, that's awesome that in a weird way, within a couple people, you can sort of mix a central topic of video games for what this podcast is about. And I can sort of, put a little Easter eggs or put a little this, put a little that to show some of my love for some of the other things that I like to listen to or talk about, or things that are important in my life. And the fact that, people are like, yeah, I love video games, but dude, really? 1776 for your intro? Hell yeah.
Yeah, so, for people that haven't watched my podcast, Podcast in Stone, we've basically gone through the entire catalogue of Iced Earth albums, going from the very first album, self-titled with Gene Adam on vocals, all the way through to the upcoming, we're basically almost finished it. We'll be doing our Incorruptible retrospective possibly next week, if I'm correct. So look forward to that. And we've interviewed almost everybody, I think, from the former members of the band to every current member. So, and they're lengthy interviews are about an hour and a half long. So
And you guys,
if you're interested, guys,
you guys are on YouTube. You guys can go check them out on YouTube at Podcast and Stone. You can also check them out on Podbean at, is it podcastandstone.podbean.com?
Yes? Question mark. I haven't been keeping up to date with my Podbean, unfortunately, because I've been so busy lately with work and stuff.
Well, you can download the Podbean app and check out some of these interviews and some of these retrospectives that they've done on these albums. It's awesome to hear them go through their collection too. That's a bonus of watching them on YouTube. They'll reach over there in their little bag of goodies and go, look what I've got over here. I got this one, and then I've got this one, and I got this vinyl variant. That is so cool. And also, like you mentioned off air, that you're a little jelly of of them not coming to the UK. I'm a little jelly of some of the stuff that you guys have.
It's taken it's basically like I've been a fan since 2000, and it's just been years of just collecting. Mm-hmm. And the day when I got the Enter the Realm demo, that was like the happiest day of my life. I'm just like holy shit, and I got it cheap as well. Like, it's ridiculous prices now, but I got it for a steal.
Yeah, the Enter the Realm demo is a cassette tape that came out before their first album that arguably has some of the better versions of some of the songs on that cassette.
The version of Colors is the better version.
And you can find a version of that. I believe that was that in the Dark Genesis?
Yes,
box set?
It came out on the Dark Genesis box set, and it also had its. It came out on a thing called Tribute something. I forget. Tribute. It was like a combination of Tribute to the Gods covers album with that as well.
Enter the Realm of the Gods.
Enter the Realm of the Gods.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, it was something
Which
like
is
that.
It's actually getting quite rare now. Apparently, that
Discogs has been my evil. I've quit collecting games, and I'm doing good on that front. And I've also stopped buying some music. But every once in a while, I'll get an email saying, "Hey, there's a 1 year want list is up for sale," and I still don't have the Glorious Burden on vinyl. And
I know your pain.
And yeah, no, and that's what really sucks is that, like, I know because I asked John on this tour, John Schaefer, the lead man of Iced Earth. I asked him, I'm like, are there going to be reissues of those SPV records, those 3 records there? Namely Glorious Burden, because that's like the one that's going for like $100. And he goes,
"It is the rarest one, of the rarest ones."
And then all he said was, "It's coming." And so now, if I ever see it for like, oh look, here's a Glorious Burden for $80, I'm like, no. I'm going to be able to get it for $25 down the line, 5 or 6 years. I don't know when it's going to be, but he said it's coming.
I don't want to turn this into like Iced Earth podcast, because it's turned into like Podcast in Stone 2 at this point in time.
We're going to get to what we're going to talk about. Where we're just going to sprinkle a little love for what you do on your podcast too.
Yeah, if you do see that original pressing of the Glorious Burden for a price that you're somewhat comfortable for paying, I say do it. It's one of the best sounding vinyls that I have in my collection, and I have a lot. It sounds incredible. Okay, so now you're sounding like Mike over here.
Whoa.
When we're at the game store.
Yeah.
And he goes, that's that's a pretty good price for that. And I'm like, yeah, but I can't spend the money right now. And you're like, but when are you going to see it again for that price? And I'm like, and so then all of a sudden he's the devil on this shoulder, and I'm looking over here, and this guy's over there in line to buy the record or buy the game. I'm like, hey, get back here, I want it. Oh, dude, I can't remember what it was. I saw a copy of it on Discogs for. It was going to be all together. It was from Israel of all places, but it was actually really cheap. It was going to be like $60 or $70 shipped in near mint condition, and I stared at that. I'm like, that's not going to last long on here, and it didn't. Can I just tell you my proudest Iced Earth moment? Go. Completing the cassette collection. That's my I was so happy about that. I've got all the cassettes that they put out. Although I've got the Glorious Burden cassette, but it's an obvious bootleg. Like, it looks real. But you play it, and it's just like what's the word? The octave. It's all like weird. Like, yeah. It doesn't sound right at all. It sounds bad. Yeah. So, it's really neat to go through and see, like, for other things as well. Like, randomly, like, you'll find out some weird tidbit of information, like, oh, the last VHS tape came out in 2006. You're like, wait, what? Really? 2006? But you have to think that there were still like some people who were holding off on upgrading.
In 2005, I didn't have a DVD player. Star Wars: Revenge of the Sith came out. I bought the VHS of that in 2005 because I was a massive Star Wars fan, even though that trilogy is not good.
Horrible.
Yeah.
I liked Obi-Wan in it.
Yes.
Yes.
That's the only thing that came out of that.
If
And the fight scene at the end with Anakin and Obi-Wan. Outside of that, junk.
I'm gonna drop. I know this is completely off topic. What this podcast completely is. But I'm just gonna drop the most controversial nugget of all time.
Uh-oh.
I think The Last Jedi is worse than the prequel trilogy. I hate The Last Jedi. There you go. I said it. Done.
Huh.
Really?
Drops mic. Oh, I can't. It's attached to my face. Sorry.
I don't know. I thought it went well with where they're going with it, but I can see how it didn't go the way that everyone wanted it to, because when you really look at it, what's he doing? The whole time, what's he doing?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You said it went well. Like, it didn't go anywhere. The story didn't go anywhere. It just was like, oh, let's go to that casino place. Oh, I got caught anyway. Great. Where did the story go? It went nowhere. The story went nowhere. It's awful. Sorry. Mini rant. Sorry. I hate that film.
I saw the movie twice in theaters. Okay, the first night, I loved it. I thought it was great. I was a defender. The more that I watch it at home, it doesn't hold my interest as well as it does. And I kind of felt the same way about Force Awakens as well. The first time I watched it at home, I wasn't as entertained. And I'm not sure if it's just my environment, if it's just I'm not encapsulated. I do agree with you in some regards for that, and maybe that's for another podcast for a full dissection of that. But
Star Wars in stone or something.
I feel like what kind of hurt it was when you go back to the original trilogy. Okay, so George Lucas only directed A New Hope, the first one. You had different directors for the other two, but he was also the guy. He wrote the story for the next two, but he didn't write the script. But there was a general, like, he was involved with talking with the director. I want this to it was a cohesive, like, co-production, if you will. Let's move the story this way. But when you have the new movies where you had Abrams and his team, and they worked on Force Awakens and made their movie, and then it shifted over into the guy that directed The Last Jedi. His name escapes me at the moment. But his team was like, okay, so we have this part. Now where can we take it? And then they did their thing, and now it's going to go back to Abrams, and he's just going to go, now let's try to...
This is...
Yeah.
So this is... I'll say this piece, and then we'll end this, because I don't want to completely take over this podcast, but it's meant to be about gaming. But anyway, I'm just gonna say this. J.J. Abrams should have signed on for all three movies, because he clearly had a vision with The Force Awakens, and there was a lot of kind of questions that needed answering in an intelligent way. I forget the name of the next guy that you said directly before The Last Jedi.
We didn't say it.
I couldn't remember his name either.
So the problem that I had the massive problem I had is like it doesn't feel like he wanted to make a sequel to The Force Awakens. He just wanted to make a contained Star Wars film, because everything that Abrams built in The Force Awakens, this new director just was like, fucking just throw that in the trash. No one cares about that.
Literally,
all those questions you've been asking, it doesn't matter, just shit.
That's who.
Ryan Johnson is the director.
Ryan Johnson's
literally, what you said, threw it in the trash. That's what Luke did with the lightsaber, right at the very beginning of the movie.
Yes.
He just tossed it over his shoulder, and we're like,
I think,
huh?
It's funny because I generally think Luke Skywalker was completely wasted in that movie, and I agree with Mark Hamill that it was a betrayal of his character as well. Because he's meant to uphold hope. That's the point of the Jedi. That's the point of him. but he just goes, "Oh, the Jedi must fall." This is just, and then he just dies at the end. Spoilers.
He loses hope. It's kind of the whole point. Is he loses hope.
He loses hope. The person, the embodiment of it,
be,
loses hope, and then I guess
she's supposed to be the new ray of hope, quote unquote. But no, for me, the Force Awakens always is going to have a soft spot because that is the first time I've ever sat in a theater and watched a new Star Wars movie, and never have seen it until that time.
Oh, so you didn't watch the prequels in the theater either?
No, because they were terrible, and I didn't want anything to do with them.
I was a young little strapping lad watching I watched the Phantom Menace.
Nope.
I was like 13 when that came out, so I saw it. I was super hyped as a kid, like, yeah, Star Wars.
Nope, not me.
My family didn't. I didn't see Attack of the Clones, but I did see Revenge of the Sith, and out of the three, that one has the most redeemable scenes. I feel like there's some good scenes in that movie. As a movie, it's not good. Select scenes from that movie could you be pulled from that and go, wow, that's like if you were able to like hybrid like some flashback scenes, put it in like black and white fade and just not really a whole lot of context. That would have been kind of cool. But, again, that would mean going back and adding another special edition of the original trilogy that nobody asked for. So, speaking of re-releasing stuff, there's a lot of stuff getting re-released in the video game world, eh? We talk about video games.
It hasn't stopped, has it? I don't think I've seen it stop.
For video games? For things getting re-released?
Like remastered, re-releases, everything.
A couple that are on my radar are, of course, the Mega Man X Legacy collections that are coming out. I have those on my radar. Another two are Shenmue 1 and 2.
I cannot wait.
And the release date for that is August 21st.
Yep.
And
day one buyer for me, I think. Day one purchase.
Now, here in the States, it's going to be $30 US.
It's probably... See, like... This is the problem with, like, global kind of exchange rates, and it doesn't always align. Like, something will come out at, like, $30 in North America, but it'll still be, like, £30 in the UK.
And that's not
so
one-to-one.
It's not correct, no. Like, because, like, I don't know, I don't really know exchange rates, but yeah, so it'll probably be about £30 over here as well, like, roughly.
They probably...
That kind of same price point.
They probably do that just for like the sticker look. We'll just slap 30 on it, and they'll pay like $2 more.
They're paying 32 cents more per dollar.
32 cents more per dollar.
Yeah.
So that's that kind of sucks.
Right. That's the way that looks.
Speaking of Shenmue, quickly.
What's that?
Go ahead.
As we're talking, I am a backer of Shenmue 3.
Oh, did you get to back it?
Yeah,
Awesome.
I put down $40 and I'm guaranteed a physical PS4 copy.
That's awesome. I missed out.
I've been waiting for 3 years. It's been delayed like twice. It's been delayed. It was meant to come out December 2017. I knew that wasn't going to happen because Kickstarter games never come out on time.
No.
So I was like, I guess it's going to be delayed. So I knew that. Then it was like, okay, summer. I think it was either spring or summer 2018, and then in April we got a email saying it's been delayed to 2019. And to be fair, I'm actually expecting another delay. To be honest,
it wouldn't surprise me.
I'm happy for delays. For them to delay it and make a better product, that's I'm all for that.
Yeah, we've said here a lot where when you have like a studio, like when a studio delays something, like. Yeah, like your initial disappointment, you're like, oh, but then it's like, okay, they're doing it for a reason. They're doing it to make it better, or at least you hope they do. And you're hoping that there isn't some massive behind-the-scenes development problem. But for like Rockstar always kind of delays their stuff, and it's like
But they're Rockstar.
Yeah,
they're Rockstar. They can do that.
And then like a Naughty Dog, and like, oh, we're going to delay it a month, and I'm just like, take your time, fix your bugs.
Here's my thing: is you look at Rockstar, who delays their product to make it better, and then you get EA, who does none of this, and their product is crap. Don't get me started.
They
are to me, them and Ubisoft are one of the worst two companies out there right now. They need we don't mind the delays. You know, now 4K's coming in, it takes longer. Make the game right so that when I pick the game up, I enjoy it. Not, oh, cool, I'm on Unity and I literally just fell through the world 6 times in the same spot and I have to go there. So now I'm just going to throw this game out the window because it's garbage.
The first thing, like, I've become so disassociated with EA to the point where when they announce a new game, my instant thought is, okay, how are they going to squeeze all my money out of me as quickly as possible?
Exactly.
What is their monetization on this? How they're going to try to basically rip us all off? That's how I look at it now. I kind of want to kind of have sort of boycotted EA, basically.
Yeah, we both have kind of decided not to support Anthem, even though I'm a huge BioWare fan.
So am I.
And so
it looks good, and I really want to play it. But the problem is that it's an EA product. So when you look at it, you know there's going to be, you know, pay to win. It says that there's not going to be pay to win, but there's always pay to win with EA. That's how
unless
they do
they pull it like they did from Battlefront
right.
2, and they only did that because the fan base freaked out.
And there's a couple of states that boycotted the game because
they were like going to litigation
gambling.
too. Yeah, so yeah, some states here in the U.S. are actually talking about, like, you know, loot boxes and like gambling and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
My initial thoughts, my thoughts in general of Anthem is, I think that EA are kind of jumping on the bandwagon a bit too late. They're trying to capitalize on the Destiny kind of like semi-MMO shooter thing. Yep. But I think, like, Destiny 2's player base is dropping off. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know anybody that still plays that game over here. None of my friends, like, I had it, I put about 25 hours in, enjoyed my time with it, and then just kind of left it. But yeah, like, their player count is down, and I don't know anyone that's really excited about that game. So I don't know whether the BioWare name is strong enough these days to really kind of capture that kind of audience that have come from Destiny 2 to find a similar experience. I'm a bit unsure who this is for, really, to be fair.
I agree. I totally agree with you with it kind of being almost too little too late at this point, with us for as long ago as they announced the game. And then for us the thing that bugged me the most from E3 about Anthem, the gameplay looks fine, actually. A lot of the gameplay that I saw, it looks fun to play. But they were like, oh, well, all of the core elements, story and characters that you love from BioWare, they're going to be there. And we saw none of that. And the game launches in February.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, going by those gameplay trailers, it looks like the most non-BioWare game I've ever seen. Because BioWare they thrive in single-player, deep RPGs. Mm-hmm. You know, Jade Empire. Fucking love Jade Empire, by the way. Jade Empire, you know, KOTOR, Knights of the Republic, you know, Mass Effect trilogy. These just really immersive, deep experiences. This doesn't look like it's going to be an immersive, deep experience. You put a Marvel scene on that, it could be an Iron Man game. Just saying.
Yeah, you're right.
It's very true.
Just saying.
It's absolutely right. So is there anything else from me?
Marvel, don't give the license to EA. They'll just fuck it up.
Well,
yeah.
No. Just look what they've done with with Star Wars. And speaking of that news about Amy Hennig she was from Uncharted, or she started Uncharted. Mm-hmm. She was at EA and they were making a new Star Wars action game. And it's now been revealed that she has been gone from EA for several months, and that game has been shelved in favor of a open world Star Wars game.
Was that the Visceral game before they shut Visceral down?
Yeah, she said that she left around the time Visceral was shut down, but it was never really made public that she left. It's just coming out now that I'm not sure how the news got put out there that action game that they were making that she was kind of in charge of has been shelved in favor of an open world. And they're like, really? Well, what is she doing? And she's like, I don't work there anymore.
My thing is, and we've discussed this in the last couple podcasts, is that EA has a tendency to buy up really good companies and then they're gone. They just dissipate them into the EA stream of
take them
graves.
Out back.
They take them out. There's literally like a set of graves behind EA of all these amazing awesome developers, and we're going to buy that, and nothing ever happens with them.
And you can look.
It pisses me off.
Well, you can look even from just using BioWare as a reference. One of the last 2 games that got released that were in development already when EA bought them were Dragon Age Origins and Mass Effect 2. And then you go to the next iterations of those, Dragon Age 2, which had like a 14-month development cycle, and like another game like BioWare made recently, Andromeda. And then you have Mass Effect 3, which has a lot of good stuff in Mass Effect 3. I love the game, but then it's like they were so rushed that they're like, how are we going to end this game? And there was a whole story thread that Drew Karpyshyn had with this dark energy stuff. They just, he's gone now. Let's put this aside and let's figure out how to end this game. And then of course it was the whole big debacle.
It was a shame though, because the actual like core game of Mass Effect 3 is great.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The fact that Shepard's being tormented that this kid got onto that carrier and dies, and he gets, obviously you have those haunted visions where you're in that woods and you've got to chase the boy and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's great storytelling, and the fact that it just was like, oh, none of your choices will matter, it's just going to be the same with a little difference at the end, and I'm just like, ugh. I don't think I actually ever saw the new ending because I was done by that point.
Okay, so you haven't
seen.
Well,
actually, no, that's a lie. Sorry. I only completed the trilogy last year, so I'd never actually seen the new ending because I didn't care.
Okay.
Should I care?
Like for the extended cuts. The extended cuts.
Yeah.
They fix a lot of the weird little issues that I had with it. It doesn't fix the problem. But it does add like a nice little epilogue thing to it.
The biggest thing is that Mass Effect 3 is the end of his story, not the end of the game. That whole game is the end of Shepard's story. So for people to say, well, we want more, well, that's it. That's his story. Mass Effect 3 is the end of his story.
And the thing
should
is,
have been fulfilling enough.
Yeah, I agree. And another thing as well, my Shepard wasn't your Shepard,
Exactly.
And stuff like that. My Shepard wasn't somebody else. We all had our own Shepard. You know what I mean, as well. So it wasn't just Shepard's story; it was our own Shepard's story.
Right.
And with our choices that we've made throughout the 3 games.
So I just watched a video because I'm still a big Mass Effect nerd, talking about that. Did BioWare sort of leave a hint in Andromeda about the canon ending for Mass Effect trilogy? And
I didn't finish Andromeda. I didn't get very far at all. I didn't play much of it.
It's a bit of a grind. There's some good moments in that game, and I love the crew.
I still love the combat. I thought the combat was fun.
Yeah, combat's great. But each planet is so big, and I think they took the exploration a little too far, because it seems like you got to travel so much to go to do this one thing, and then you got to leave the planet, and then you end up going back, and you have to. It seemed like just really what really beefed that game out was a lot of like walking around to do one little thing that meant nothing.
I spent more time.
Same thing over and over again on each mission.
Sometimes, yeah.
In my like 10 hours of gameplay, I didn't play much of it all. At 10 hours of gameplay, a good 60% of that was conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just go around talking to people and just doing like meaningless tasks. Because that's the thing that drew me to Mass Effect to begin with. Was I got onto it late, because obviously I started the trilogy last year, very late. But the thing that really I fell in love with the characters, the world, and the conversation mechanic, and how you can just like change the way things go forward with the game.
Right.
But yeah, I got very bored of Andromeda in terms of its gameplay loop. It just got very monotonous very quickly.
So in this video that I watched, just like the original Mass Effect series, where they have little news tidbits in places where you're walking around or you're in an elevator and you get like a little news bite. There's this one little recording where it says that what's that place called? The Nexus? That's like their Citadel 2.0. Is that their little like the
yes question mark?
Yeah, it's that.
We're gonna look it up.
So like the now that they've kind of been there for a couple of years and they've been struggling, and then all of a sudden, well, now the Pathfinder shows up and things really start get to moving, right? That's like how that story is supposed to progress. When once Ryder gets there and starts taking the ball and running with it, then things start going. Well, they've been there for a couple of years and they've been trying to reach contact with the Milky Way galaxy, and they've received nothing. And if you're going to send basically this guy goes into details like, well, if you're going to send a standard signal, it would take millions of years to get an answer, but through quantum entanglement, which they have, you would expect an answer. And while to me, I was like, well, that can mean one of two things. One, they're not wanting to answer the impossible question of the three endings and which one is canon, because it is different for everybody's playthrough. Yeah.
Nexus.
You can correct me if I'm actually incorrect, but I generally thought that Andromeda runs parallel with the Mass Effect trilogy in terms of its timeline.
The game starts right in between Mass Effect 2 and 3. That's when they launch.
Right.
So when they get over there, it's like 650 years later they finally arrive. So this is like a long time later. This is after the end of Mass Effect 3. And there's no answer. This person was hypothesizing that the canon ending of Mass Effect 3 is that everybody dies and everybody loses, because that is one of the endings they added in. Basically, and maybe I thought about this way too much, because they added in the refuse ending, where you refuse all three choices that they give you. And if you refuse those three choices, the Reapers eventually, slowly win against everybody. You guys cannot overpower them. That was, some people I heard like, well, we should have been able to beat them conventionally. And like, well, that was like the whole buildup of the Reapers. They were so overwhelming that you couldn't beat them conventionally, and that they would just slowly wear you down. And that's what happened with the Protheans. And I'm like, well, what if that's like some weird meta thing, because the player base refused those three endings, that they've now made it canon to where everybody that you loved and cared for and all these choices you make, they don't matter because everybody dies. And I'm like, part of me was like, oh my gosh, that is them going, didn't like our endings?
But guess what? No one's going to hear that message because no one fucking played Andromeda.
Exactly.
That's why that guy made that video, to let everybody know about it. But I just loved that because, I have my own little like, okay, so I chose my ending and everything else, and like I have like other story ideas that would be awesome in the Mass Effect universe. I'm very much a fanfic type guy in my own head. When I get bored, start making my own stories up, and I'm like,
make your own headcanon.
In a way, yeah, like, or make my own characters, make my own little side stuff. Like, well, okay, so that's going on over here, but here's what this team over here is doing, and this is my guys, and this here. And I remember I had this like, well, I guess the ending I chose was like originally was Control, right? And I'm like, okay, that'd be kind of neat. Yeah, like they basically. They get stuck where they can't use the mass relay because they all get broken up or destroyed or damaged. So then they have to spend a few years going through FTL to get back into where they can use a mass relay. And the first thing they're met with is this Reaper, and they're like, oh no, but it doesn't attack them. And then I'm like, so I had my whole idea for that, and I'm like, but what if they got back and everybody is just dead? I'm like, oh, that's so much more macabre. Like, that works so good for me now. I'm like, that is amazing. Like, because then it's like this whole like 7 like part story arc that I had for all my characters, weaving in and out of this story that's already in universe, that's already set, and doing all this work, and they get back and they're the last ones, and then they have to make it's like with the Protheans when they sent those scientists or through the beacon or whatever. And that, like when you learn about that and they get into the Citadel and there's no one left and they have to pretty much make preparations for like the next group of people. It's like, oh man, that breaks my heart. But I love stuff like that. I love bittersweet endings. I guess that's just me. Like I love the good triumphant ending, but man, when something's building you up to be this big triumphant ending and it's just like, you mean Vegeta's got to die? Oh. But that's just me.
Well, it'll probably be a few years until we see another Mass Effect, I think.
To add to that, Casey Hudson did say that they are not done with it. That he said he's the guy in charge of BioWare now. He said that's his baby because he helped start it, and we're not done with it. We want to go back to it, but right now they're focused entirely on Anthem because they don't want that to fail because they don't want to get taken out back like Old Yeller and shot and shed by EA for failing.
There's a lot of people that think that's what's going to happen if Anthem fails. They think BioWare's next on the chopping block.
I really wish they would just sell it to Microsoft. Like, please give it to somebody that is going to do well with it because they did really well with the first one. So
Microsoft helped bankroll the first couple of games, and they worked well with BioWare, with Jade Empire, KOTOR, Mass Effect 1, and then EA came in and they bought the company, and then of course everything changed after that.
I totally forgot. Like, if the only way you could play at the time, Mass Effect 1 was on Xbox 360, wasn't it?
Yep, that's why I bought my 360 back then.
But
I've just bought the 360 recently.
Did you?
I wish that would happen, but we know that EA is going to take them out back and
they would put
a bullet in them.
No, it's just for them. It's like much too valuable to sell it. Like let's just go back and kill it, and we'll own these IPs, and we'll resurrect them in 10 years when nobody even cares about the developer anymore.
Or none of the original people that did it are alive, so it's a completely different.
Wow. In 5 years, they're all dead. Not only did EA take the company out back, they slowly and silently killed every single person who worked there.
I wouldn't run a bio.
Wouldn't it be a different story if the developer was the one to take fucking EA outside the back and shoot them in the head?
Oh, that'd be
awesome. That'd be great.
That'd be a fucking service to gaming, I think.
I think so too. I'm with you on that.
BioWare, if you're listening, you know where the shotgun is. Do it.
Biotic charged them, sons of bitches.
I'm not promoting murder on the podcast. I do apologise. I'm not doing that at all.
Speaking of death in video games, Fallout 76 will offer protection for lower level players.
Yes.
So a lot of people have wondered how, because Fallout 76 is coming out. There's this big kind of like other online game. It's kind of like a bigger, how I've compared it, it's like, okay, take a bigger studio and have them take the Fallout stuff and mix it in with like DayZ or Rust or something like that. And this, you essentially get Fallout 76. But apparently, if you're level 5 or lower, you cannot get killed by other players.
Yes.
And that's interesting to me because part of the thing that keeps me away from playing those kind of games is me just starting in, trying to get my bearings straight, and then you got some guy that's been playing this game for the last 2 years, just ends up finding you every time that you come into the game. The same dude ends up like noob.
Yeah, they're trying to eliminate the griefing as much as possible,
right? To
allow newer players to kind of get their bearings on the world first,
right?
Which I really like. Like, you cannot set up any type of settlement near Vault 76.
Yeah, you gotta be so far away.
You gotta be so far away. So,
the Fallout 76 was definitely a head turner at E3. Jason, what are some of the things that you were excited about from E3? You told me you haven't really had a chance to geek out about it, so let's geek out about it. Let's talk about some E3 with you.
I'm looking at Mike's shirt. Umbrella Corporation.
Right there.
Resident Evil 2 remake. That's the game. That's it. I was done.
It looks so good.
Oh my god.
It was just beautiful.
They're changing it in all the right ways. They're keeping the main, like, quote-unquote bloods of the actual original intact, but they're building upon it, and it just looks one of the best looking games of the show, I think. It looks fucking incredible.
Yes.
That RE engine can do some incredible stuff.
Well, just look at how good some of the RE7 stuff looks.
Oh, yeah.
Like, even in VR, it looks really good. And so you take that engine and you make like an older style of game with it, and it literally transformed and took that whole setting to the next level.
The RE7 engine is very gory and very bloody, and to put it with the best game in the Resident Evil series, in my opinion, which I believe that's about everybody's opinion, is RE2 is about the best.
It's the best.
And
Although I've got a very
go ahead.
sorry.
No, you're fine.
I've got a very soft spot in my heart for the Resident Evil remake on the GameCube. That's masterpiece in my eyes, that game. But yeah, Resident Evil 2 is incredible. I think Resident Evil 7 is probably my third favorite in the franchise. It probably goes RE2, RE remake, and Resident Evil 7. Are probably my three favorites.
I'm super excited for this. I'm excited for a couple of games, sure, but like out of everything that came out of E3, the things that are like the closest to, like, you know, like I am so excited for The Last of Us Part 2. I'm so excited for that.
Just give me it now.
Yeah, exactly. But please take your time. And I know we're not going to see it for a while. So while I'm like so hyped up for that game, to know that RE2, we just saw it for the first time and it's coming out in January. Yeah, no, I'm sold.
That's my New Year game. Obviously, it's not actually New Year, but it's more end of January. But it's like there's my New Year game already, man.
Absolutely. You know, I'm definitely picking that up day one. No questions asked.
And we are definitely going to be streaming that.
Yes.
And we'll decide who you want to stream, because I don't want to stream the same characters.
Yeah, no, like me and Mike are actually going to stream that at the same time, and then stream two different characters like to start off with. So, like on his stream he'll be playing as one. On my stream I'll be playing as like another. But I'm so excited because then it's like, not only is it going to like revamp the game, but it's also going to be able to bring in a more modern level of storytelling to it as well. And we saw some of that with the gameplay demos, and
yes,
you know, they changed how you meet Marvin. You know, in the original, Marvin's just like kind of laying there, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm already kind of done." And this one, he's like, he's pulling you out, man. He's pulling you out of like the shutter and everything, and he's up and moving around. Obviously, he's near death's door himself still, but I can't wait to see how they start weaving in the different scenarios and how they're going to, like, Mr. X is in it, but Mr. X is only in scenario B in the original. So how is this going to Is he going to appear in both? Is he only going to appear in one, or how are they going to divvy this up?
Do you know what sold me the most? I'm on board anyway because it's Resident Evil 2. But if you buy the limited edition, you get to swap out the new soundtrack with the original soundtrack, and I love that original soundtrack, just Nostalgia City.
Oh,
so,
man.
I can't wait.
Oh, I haven't bought that yet.
No.
Wait,
just
well,
here
there
we
we go, right here. This happens a lot
it's
on our show.
It's not available for pre-order over here, so I can't even pre-order mine.
Is it even available?
Speaking of, okay, so like, do you have Amazon Prime? Oh, like over there?
Yes.
Okay, so like, if you pre-order a game on Amazon Prime, you get like a certain discount.
This is what happens when I go to Resident Evil 2. It shows
a poster of Mila Jovovich.
Mila Jovovich naked.
Oh god, those movies are awful.
They are, but she's attractive.
Anyway,
that's because the director's like, look at my hot wife every movie.
Yes,
that's why.
Yes. Anyways, so sorry. Sidetracked.
So Amazon Prime, if you pre-order a game, you get a certain discount, right? You end up getting 10%. It's like ends up being like $12 off.
I might as well copy you guys while we're at it. Get my phone and see if I can pre-order.
But I ended up just reading something that they have now made a new rule in the in what games are exempt from Prime discounts, and that includes collector's editions, re-releases, and remasters.
Interesting.
So, like, so we just talked about Shenmue 2, right?
Yeah.
Shenmue 1 and 2 getting remastered.
Yeah.
So, I mean, granted, it's cheaper than a full price game, but still, they're taking that discount away. What's up?
So, I'm big on buying collector's editions of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't even see any collector's edition.
It just has the deluxe edition?
It just has a deluxe edition, so I'm kind of scanning through here, and I'm not seeing a collector's edition.
As we're talking about collector's edition, like I've really stopped bothering because they don't come with the game anymore. Do they?
If it's
Do they?
EA, if it's EA, they don't come with the game.
I remember when they did a Halo 5 when it came with the download code, and people like threw a fit. So then Bungie or Microsoft were like, hey, it wasn't Bungie, it was just Microsoft. They were like, go ahead and email us, and send us the code in, and we'll send you a physical copy.
Right.
So they were pretty cool about that. But then like I pre-ordered and I got my Mario Odyssey Switch, and it came with a download code. I'm a very much, if you listen to this podcast, we do collect our games. I'm pretty anti-digital when I can. I understand if it's only available in digital, I'll bite the bullet. I'll do what I need to do. But I always want to get a physical copy. I love having that, whether that is video games, music, regardless. I want movies even. Like I will go and people are like, well, yeah, I just bought the new Marvel thing. Like I got Black Panther on my PlayStation. I don't care. I want the Blu-ray for that.
Yep.
So
I have something to show you. 1 second.
Oh.
So the very first time that I met Jason or talked to him on Messenger, and of course, we bonded over the Iced Earth thing. So then we started talking about games, and I'm like, holy crap, I just made another best friend.
Yeah. It sucks when you guys talk about that, because I'm not a big Ice Earth fan. So
you know what? It is what it is. But
Uh-oh.
I'm back.
Do you have what I think you have?
Well, you're saying about you want certain things from games that you love and stuff like that.
Yeah.
One of my favourite games of all time is Journey.
Oh.
So I've got the soundtrack on vinyl.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because the music is incredible. Mm-hmm. The cool thing, I know no one can see this, which is a shame, because it's audio, no video, no visual. Dropping stuff.
Oh no! Oh no! He dropped it, and we lost him in the call. Oh no! Whoops!
Sorry guys, I hit my keyboard.
It's okay.
I'm twat. For some reason, my keyboard likes to hang up. Cool. Yeah. Anyway, no one can see it. I keep forgetting this is not a video podcast.
Yeah, not yet.
Oh, I mean, damn it.
Soon it'll be streaming.
I'm so used to my podcast, just like, guys, look at this.
Yeah,
and
right.
It's like,
whoa.
Sonic Mania?
Sonic Mania, yeah.
That's cool.
The music's awesome in this as well. So yeah, the only two soundtracks I have.
I went to as I was telling Mike, while we were, I guess technically off air with you, I went to my local record store and they had like Mother 1 and 2 vinyl soundtracks and a couple of others, but they were like $100 a piece.
Yeah, see here they're ridiculous. What was the other one that we saw that you sent me a picture of? Was it Kingdom Hearts 2?
No.
What was it?
I'm not gonna be able to find that picture. That's way from, but it's probably like another phone ago. But yeah, that's so cool to have. I love stuff like that. The only issue is I just don't have enough room in my game room for like collector's editions anymore. Like I have my own little vinyl area, so if I ever want to get stuff like that, like if they do, and they've already said that for the FF7 remake, that Nobuo Uematsu is overseeing it. He's not doing it, but he's like pretty much like hovering over the guy's shoulder, or they show him, they go, how's this? And he goes either thumbs up or thumbs down. And so he's handling the if they release the remastered soundtrack on vinyl.
Yeah, I'm buying it.
Yeah.
That's.
I predict Final Fantasy remake. I still think you've got years to wait for that.
No doubt. Yes. Absolutely no doubt.
I'm in the minority because I don't really care about that game. I'm a Final Fantasy 8 guy myself.
Wow, yeah, you definitely are in the minority. I love 8.
Things 8 was my introduction, and I love the intro, the whole kind of soundtrack, that kind of intro.
Big epicness, yeah.
I saw that intro before I got the game because it was on like a demo disc for PlayStation. I'm just like, this looks amazing. Obviously, that's not what the game looks like. It's a CG cutscene, but I'm a little kid. I don't know. I'm just like,
yeah, like 7 was my introduction to like the RPG, like
a lot of people's by the sounds of it.
Well, to the Final Fantasy, yes, 7 was, but to RPG was Super Mario RPG.
I had played it, but it didn't really grab me. Like 7,
I love that game.
The 7 is what grabbed me as far as the storytelling, and like I even make fun of it a little bit, like starting off. in my stream. I was kind of making fun of it a little bit. Like, man, like the writing
It hasn't
here,
aged well.
No,
It hasn't aged.
The translation is terrible.
Dude, I'll say, okay, so I'm streaming the PS4 version, and it's the port of the PC version, and they've actually fixed a lot of the translation issues.
Wow.
The only thing is that the story that it's not well localized. So when somebody will say something and you still really don't know what they mean by it.
Right.
Like, it's not the fact that it's badly translated. They translated it, pretty well, but it just doesn't make sense. I feel like one of the best, like, okay, so 7's my favorite, but it's nostalgia. It's like your first love. But I don't think it's the best. And me and our friend Tyler, who's been on who has been on the show, we've kind of argued about the definition of that, because I feel like one of the best Final Fantasies is 9.
Yes.
Is just from overall, like, presentation, gameplay,
story, everything,
translation, localization. Even soundtrack, it's great. I love 8. Like, those 3, that PlayStation trilogy to me is like a mecca of where you had this, like, where Final Fantasy was going up here, and then it kind of like got to a point, and then at some point it either plateaued or it has started to go down.
See, I didn't play much of 9, to be fair. That's my brother's favourite. He loves 9, and it was his copy that he had. I never really got around to playing it when I was a kid. Still haven't really. I played a little bit of it, and I thought the CG, like, cutscenes were really good looking and stuff. Never really played much of it. Played 10, but didn't beat 10. And I kind of just, like, missed everything else up until 15, and I actually really enjoyed 15. So
it's
really
funny. 15 has been kind of had like this running gag here on our podcast where you have to watch the movie first.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Well, I was enjoying it but I was still confused. And then this guy over here, he got like the collector's edition or deluxe edition that came with the movie, the Kingsglaive. And within the first minute, pretty much told you things that I've been wondering in the game for 10 hours. And I'm just at that point, I'm like trying to flip his table, but his table's too heavy, and I'm just like getting mad.
It's funny because we were watching it. I'm like, I'm just gonna let you know this now. You're gonna be really pissed because this tells you more information than you've got in the entire game so far. In like the first couple minutes, he goes, "Nah, it can't be that bad." Within 5 minutes, he just glares at me and he goes, "What the fuck? What the fuck is this shit? Why do I have to watch the fucking movie first?" And it was funny because then we got done and he's like, "The movie's great. Just by itself, it's great. But I'm pissed at this game."
I do plan on revisiting 15. I don't hate it. I'm not gonna crap on it. I enjoyed the gameplay for what I played of it, and I'm looking forward to going back. Just like I said, you know what? I want to go back and I want to try to, as unbiasedly as I can, play the entire 13 trilogy. Just that way I can have an informed opinion. I can tell you straight up they're either good or bad.
That's the thing. Like, I don't have an opinion on those games because I've never played them.
Yeah.
I've just heard the fan reaction not being very positive whatsoever. But yeah, speaking of 15. This is my take on 15, just like as just the basest of bases, basically. You're just controlling a beautiful, dysfunctional boy band, aren't you? It's great.
Yeah,
I love
exactly.
And the thing what really grabbed me about 15 was the change in combat, because I also love traditional turn-based JRPGs. It's not for me anymore. Like, I don't find that entertaining anymore. Like, wait, take your turn, you attack, wait, heal, attack again, whatever. That doesn't entertain me anymore in games. I don't find that entertaining for me personally anymore. So I embrace that change in, it's more kind of Devil May Cry sort of, not really. Jumping around, hacking, slashing. I was like, I'm into this. This is cool. So yeah, that's what really grabbed me to pick that game up.
It definitely has an amazing open world fighting concept. Like, I love it. I love the summons, but I also don't like how you have to be almost dead to use a summon. Like,
right.
I want to use a summon, like, if shit's, I'm looking around, I'm like, all right, I'm about ready to get fucked up. Like, I'm going to die in the next 30 seconds. I know that, but I can't use anything. that some of that stuff I think could be changed, and fingers crossed in 7 I believe that they will fix this to where it'll be exactly like 15 gameplay, but you'll be able to do everything right there on the spot instead of having to wait until certain parameters are reached for you.
And I guess we won't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we really won't know. The whole like parameters reaching, that kind of reminds me of the whole desperation move from like FF6, and then of course how the limits work in FF8. How you start getting low on HP, and then you start actually getting more chances to use your limit. And unlike in 7, where you just have a limit meter and it just builds up, or in 9, where you have a trance.
I like the trance in 9.
The only thing I don't like about that is you're unable to save it. So if somebody hits you right at the very end of the combat, and there's one hit left on the dude, and you've been waiting, like man, I hope I can just get to this boss and then use a trance for that. It'll really help me out. And then it totally ruins your badass moments and your badass skills and abilities for this, and then you just have to start over with that. I don't like that. I like in FF7 where you can just sort of, I'm going to wait to use this until I actually need to use this. But it, like, as far as FF goes, like, I'm super excited to see what they do for the remake. But again, it's like we don't know how much of the are they going to keep that same basic idea we've already seen, because we already know that what we've already seen is not what the game is going to be. They've already like deleted it and they started over. So,
yeah.
It looked fantastic in that trailer, but as CG, you cleaned it up.
Is it like it's just like with anything, it's like people were saying that the Last of Us demo that we saw was fake.
No.
And it's programmed gameplay. I don't believe it's straight up just somebody playing the game. I do believe that they had it do certain things, that way you can see sort of certain concepts of it. So I understand from that standpoint, it's definitely a programmed gameplay. But like they're saying the game is not going to look that good in its final form.
But what game demo is not?
I just said final form, and nobody cracked a Frieza joke or Cell joke, and I'm a little.
It's really ironic, because I'm like I'm like the biggest Dragon Ball fan going. So
yeah, but I should have caught that. I should have.
I'm not joking either. No one can see this, but I'm not joking. I've got like I've got a Dragon Ball museum at my house. It's ridiculous. And funny enough, I didn't like Xenoverse 1 or 2, and I didn't like Fighters. That says a lot, actually, considering they're both Dragon Ball games.
I can relate to you on those. They were kind of cool to play for a little bit, and then it was, all right, I'm done. Like
Dragon Ball Fighters had no content. Like, I'm not an online player, so I'm there for the arcade mode, for the story mode.
Right.
The story mode got old very quickly. I got really bored with that, and then I beat the arcade mode in all difficulties very quickly. So
it's unfortunate.
It looked amazing. It looked incredible. But
I'm hoping that they do a Dragon Ball Z like open world RPG like they did with Naruto, because they came out with a Naruto style game like that. I missed the demo. I tried to get on the demo, but I missed it. I haven't picked that game up, but
I haven't really played a Dragon Ball game in quite some time. I played like
when I bought Xenoverse.
Yeah, I played that when I was over here and messed around with it. But it's like every time I look at it and go ooh, and I'm like, I'll buy this over here instead.
Right.
That's kind of how it ends up going. Thankfully, some other games I used to buy all the time have been kind of going that way. So before we get out of here, I definitely we've got an awesome guest, and we're learning about what kind of games he likes and doesn't like. So one of the first things that Jason ever asked me, Mike.
Okay.
It's like he linked up on Messenger. We were bonding over Iced Earth, and then we start talking about games. And he goes, "What?" And first thing, it's funny. He's like, one of the first things he asked me, "What are your top 5 games of all time?"
Fucking the heart, hit you with the biggest question in the world. Boom.
And
tell me now.
So I'm gonna ask you that question now, Jason, because you told me in that chat. But let's.
I'm bringing that chat up because I think I've forgotten some of them on that.
Don't worry, I have to do the same thing.
Because my list is always changing. My top hasn't changed. My number 1 hasn't changed, but my list under that is always changing.
Fallout 4 has moved up.
Has moved up for you?
Has moved up in my list.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm not saying anything about Fallout 4 because I don't want to offend you. So.
Well, no, it's okay because I understand that the story is just weak, and that is fine. I don't mind people saying that, but for me, I really like that environment. So to me, it's not the story that gets me; it's being in the environment and seeing the people and how everything is there and how life has progressed after Fallout.
See, I've got a bit of a mixed opinion on that whole franchise. I've never played the original isometric tactical RPG ones. I've never played them, so I've got no opinion. But when it comes to, obviously, a lot of people was introduced with that franchise with Fallout 3. I came off of Elder Scrolls Oblivion and loving that game to pieces. I still think it's better than Skyrim. You can fight in the comics.
You don't do that in this house because my little lady that's in the room right to the right, she will argue with you until you die.
Thus is the internet. But yeah, so I came off the back of Oblivion. I wanted another kind of really big, kind of immersive game experience. And a friend of mine bought Fallout 3, and he didn't like it. He just let me have it. He paid like full price for it. He goes, "Oh, you can have it." And I didn't like it. I thought I was getting post-apocalyptic with guns Oblivion. Silly. Probably a silly expectation. But yeah, I didn't like Fallout 3. I still don't like Fallout 3. It's just something I just can't grasp it. I can't really get in the mindset to really get into it. But I love New Vegas. New Vegas is fantastic. I love New Vegas. With all its bugs, everything. I love that game. Fallout 4? Didn't like Fallout 4 either. Do I care about Fallout 76? Not at all. Sorry. I don't want to be a negative Nancy, but...
I'm excited for it. I'm really happy.
I really dug Fallout 4 when it came out, and I'm someone who liked both 3 and New Vegas. And so I'm playing Fallout 4, and I'm telling this guy, dude, you need to get on this, man. I know that you didn't like the shooting mechanics in 3 when you tried it, but they fixed that. You need to try it out. And this guy fought me for like a year and finally played it and for himself and went, "So, guess what game I just got?" And I said, "What's that?" He goes, "Fallout 4." I'm like,
paid that for $20.
See, and I've been meaning to buy it again because it's literally bargain bin dirt cheap in the UK. It's like I can get it for like £5. What's £5 in American dollars? Like $7? What is it?
Probably about
I think it's $1.32
per pound. So
per pound for a dollar.
It's
so
roughly, but
yeah. So like, I can literally get it new for $5. No, like £5.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking to myself, should I just jump back in and just give it another go? Like,
so
what do you guys think? Do you think I should give it another try?
Personally, I bought the Game of the Year Collector's Edition because I wanted the Pit-Boy. So, to me, that game is still pretty good, but Nuka World is awesome. It is a raider, like you get to be a raider. You can get to be the raider, and then you can move everything from Nuka World into Fallout 4 original map, and you can be a raider on the original map. So you can set up like your settlements and change them into a raider settlement. So I like that concept personally. Everything else, the automatronic man, that one's kind of stupid. But being able to build your own ammo is awesome. And they give you special power armor. So like I have a Nuka-Cola power armor and a Vim power armor. You know, so I like it. If you can get the Game of the Year for dirt cheap, definitely pick that up. But I mean, it is what it is. And the Far Harbor is really good DLC too.
Cool.
So the DLCs I think are, like I said, the Nuka World I thought was almost better than the Fallout game as of a story.
I think I can get the Game of the Year edition for pretty cheap now as well, so they'll have all the DLC, I believe.
I think now, me and Joanna just bought it for $30. I bought it for my wife because she sat and watched me, and she goes, "Okay, I have to play this game." So I bought it for her for $30 for the Game of the Year edition here in the States. I don't know over there.
Well, and also right now in North America, especially the States, by the time you're hearing this, they're having a lot of holiday 4th of July sales going on right now. Whether you're at GameStop, whether you're at Best Buy, PlayStation has having a big blowout mid-year sale on their.
Yeah, I've noticed the US gets just best everything really, best sales, the best tours, everything. Because I go onto like PlayStation Network, like I've got like £20 on my wallet, and it's like double discounts. I'm like, okay, cool. It's just nothing. just Ubisoft shit. I'm just like, I don't want another Assassin's Creed. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
I don't want The Crew. That game was awful. No. It's just. Apparently, your deals and discounts are you've got more to choose from. There's deeper discounts. It's like Steam. I built a PC to get on Steam and be a PC gamer. Haven't really played a game on PC for about 2 years. I'd rather, lay on my bed with my 50-inch TV playing my PS4, like that, yeah? No one can see what I'm doing, but whatever. You get my point.
Yeah.
Just chilling out. But yeah, like, even Steam used to be amazing for discounts. Like, I used to be buying games for like, less than $1. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Super cheap, like, whoa. And then my Steam library's like 362 strong. And it's just like, I'm spending all this money on games because they're cheap and I've hardly played any of them. So at the time. So I've just stopped. And even like, I've jumped on there for the summer sale and it's just shit. I'm like, this is shit. Where's all the cool discounts on these massive games people actually want to play? Sorry, I'm ranting.
No, it's fine. So I
we do that
found,
a lot on here.
Yeah, well, I found. I did find. Now I lost it because I asked you what your top favorite 5 games were.
Yes.
And I found what you sent me.
Yes, I've got that right now.
Has that list changed for you?
Yes, a little bit.
Okay, so let's lay it on us. What are your top 5?
My number 5 would be a BioShock. I love BioShock.
The original BioShock?
Yes.
Awesome.
Don't talk to me about Infinite.
Okay.
It's fine. I understand.
Would you kindly please tell us the next entry?
Yes. Number 4 would be Metal Gear Solid. It's still the best in the franchise, in my opinion. That could be nostalgia talking, but I don't care.
No. Well, I mean, it's definitely up there in mine too, because in my top 5 and number 4 I have Snake Eater. Number 1 and 3 are in my top 10. What I was trying to do when I made a top 5 was like, all right, no series can repeat.
Oh yeah, I agree.
So it's like, so then now I'm like, well, it's going to be either 1 or 3, and I'm sitting there going, and then I'm just like, well, 3 made me cry. So,
number 3 made the feels, man.
It did. It made me feel all the feels. What you got for number 3?
Speaking about making me cry, The Last of Us.
God, that's an amazing game.
Fucking hell, that's an emotional gut punch that I've ever felt one. Jesus Christ.
I've been replaying that on stream, and this is like my 3rd or 4th time playing through the game, and I just got past Pittsburgh. Of course, when you're in Pittsburgh, you run across Henry and Sam, the two folks that kind of join you up, and it's funny because you get to see Joel is starting to accept Ellie and have her do more,
right?
Help him out more. And meanwhile, Henry won't let Sam do anything, so Sam is really uncomfortable with a gun. He's really uncomfortable fending for himself, and he ends up getting bit for it. And then there's the whole ending scene where he turns, and Henry freaks out because that's his it's his little brother. And then he ends up having to shoot him, and then loses his mind. He can't handle it, and he kills himself. And I was there on stream going, I'm like, damn, this game is so depressing sometimes. Like, I love it, but man, it's so dark.
It is just like. It is like basically a story of just, love, death, and just despair. Like, it reeks despair. My favourite moment in that game, and I will say this, it is only 3rd on my list, but it's probably the only game that is like I love so much that if they re-released it again on the next generation of systems, I will buy it again and I will play it again.
I agree
because it's that good. My favorite moment from Last of Us is where I forgot. See, I haven't played it in a while, so I've forgotten this specific character's name. It's my favorite part of the game, which is when Toby plays Ellie.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so good. And you're in that kitchen where you got to basically kill that guy. You're fighting the sort of pseudo boss fight, and he goes, "Oh yeah, the only way you're gonna go and help your friend is get through me." And you beat him, and then Ellie just loses her shit with that machete, and it is the most. I felt a lot of them. She is just losing it. She's crying. She's just complete out, just raged out of. I think it's like everything he's put her through. She's just letting it out and just basically just fucked him up proper. And it was just so powerful. And, you know, Joel's just trying to pull her off and shit. It's like, fucking hell.
She starts trying to fight him and he goes, "It's me, it's
yeah,
me."
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then she just breaks down. And then
yeah,
it
and
cuts to black.
I'm sitting there, I'm like, fucking hell, this game.
It's heavy, dude. That game is so heavy within, like, emotion.
For me, the end, almost the end. So the last hour where Joel makes his decision to be the good guy or the bad guy and ultimately takes the bad guy. Instead of saving everybody, he saves her.
That's the beauty of that kind of ending sequence where you're basically trying to save her. It's just, there's so much divided discussion amongst fans of this game where it's just like, oh, do you agree with Joel for what he did? Right. Or do you think they should have basically acquired a cure from her? But yeah, she dies, but, you know, it is a moral kind of dividing thing.
So,
you know,
I love, like, this game mirrors itself from part one. Think of Winter as, like, your middle part.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, the beginning of the game, you're playing as Joel carrying his daughter, and the few die so the many will live. So, like, his daughter ends up dying because they might be infected. And then you go on, and then you get Ellie, and you go through this arc with her, and then you get to the middle, where, like, near the middle of the game, you lose control, or like, you know, of him, and you go to Ellie. So then it's like it's the opposite arc, because then it goes through, because then beginning of the game, she's super talkative, he is not, and near the end of the game, he's super talkative, she isn't, and then at the end of the game, he's carrying her again. He's doing what he was unable to do in the beginning of the game, and he's almost kind of like accepted her now as close family, his surrogate daughter, and there's no way he's going through that pain again. No way that he can suffer that loss, even if that he'd screw everybody else. It's very selfish.
Yes.
And
it's like, you know, it gets to the point where, you know, he needs her, like he needs Ellie.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
At this point in the story, like he needs her, you know.
That's why I like it, because he ultimately turns into the villain, because he could have saved everyone, or at least prevented everyone from turning.
Also, think from the beginning of the game, he's carrying his daughter, and he gets stopped at gunpoint. At the end of the game, he's carrying Ellie, gets stopped at gunpoint, and that same situation turns out differently in both.
Yep.
And The Last of Us is just such a beautiful game.
Yeah.
It was one of those games. It's one of those just experiences. I'm not going to say game, just because it is an experience to me.
Yeah, I agree.
It's one of those experiences where, while the credits were rolling, I am literally gasping for air, like I'm exhausted. Like, fucking hell, that was a game. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, it was just a roller coaster of just emotions, everything. It was fantastic. It is a masterpiece in the gaming world. And I don't see another game like it unless it's a sequel.
When they announced the second game at that PSX a couple of years ago,
yeah,
and they're like, we got one more thing, and then they went to the whole thing.
You got the Firefly logo, and everyone's just went crazy.
Yeah. I got chills when they started showing, like, Joel, but he's just the shadow figure walking in, and he's just walking through the house surveying the damage.
Yeah.
And then, like, oh man, and then he gets there, and then you hear his voice for the first time, like,
"What are you doing, kiddo?"
You really going to go through with this? And it's just that deep Texas voice that, like, Troy Baker doesn't have in his natural speaking voice, but makes it sound so authentic. And I got chills. And I'm like, I need this game now for Christmas. And I know it was so far off. It was just such a good tease. But then seeing the gameplay from E3, seeing that it's more the same plus more. And how the game
more Ellie.
Well, yeah, and the game
more Ellie. That's one thing.
Like the whole gameplay changes with Ellie. She plays different than Joel. Joel's this big powerhouse slugging through. She isn't. And then how her animations and movement change with that, and how she gets hit, and how she tries to dodge, and how the environments are a little destructible with that dude throwing her across this like glass little like display at this store.
Some of the biggest things for me is the fact that she takes an arrow, and you can't gain any health. She's constantly losing health, so she has to go hide, pull this arrow out, and then she's taking parts off of other bodies. And
she pulls that arrow out of that other body.
Yeah,
it
looks phenomenal. Because I thought when we were watching this, well, what else are they going to be able to do? You know, I mean, like to me, The Last of Us is a masterpiece in general. What else are we going to do to expand this and make this a better experience for me? And then they're under the bus, and I'm like, oh, shit, you're going to be able to shoot from under the bus, and puts a bullet right underneath their eye. I'm like, oh, perfect.
Mm-hmm. I'm super excited.
It just looks phenomenal.
But anyway, you have a number 2.
Yes, my number 2 is Journey.
Journey is such an interesting game. It's unlike...
Yes.
It is such like as much as we've just gushed about how much of a masterpiece The Last of Us is, Journey is an entirely different experience.
For me, this is the statement I'm going to make. Journey is a game that everybody who loves gaming needs to experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2 hours of your life, but it's an incredible, engrossing, intelligently immersive 2 hours. Think Legend of Zelda, shrunk down, no combat, just puzzle solving, and just incredible music, and I'm going to argue, the most beautiful art design in gaming ever. Like it just looks incredible, and I love the game to pieces. I got the soundtrack, as you know. So it's just...
The sheer fact that they were able to do what like the kind of storytelling that they did with that. Because like we just hyped up The Last of Us storytelling. This is entirely different kind of storytelling because there is no real.
It's
overall,
interpretation.
Yeah, exactly. No, and you hit the nail right on the head with that. It is an interpretation, and how you can use the. I remember on the PS3 using the online co-op, and you can't talk to. You don't even know who you're playing with.
Yeah,
it doesn't tell you until you've beaten the game.
But when you lose them, you're like, oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's like, you know, it's just yeah. Do you want to hear my interpretation of what I think the story is?
Yes.
I'm not a religious person by any means. I thought I'd just let that out there quickly. But I truly believe that you're in purgatory, and the peak that you're traveling to is heaven.
I've heard that interpretation. I've had conversations with a friend at work who said exactly that. Yeah.
I just got that vibe from it, from the start of the game to the end of the game.
Oh yeah, no, it's a very beautiful game. I picked up the physical copy of that on PS3.
I still need to get the physical copy. I haven't pulled the trigger on that. Well, I should do, I suppose.
Yeah,
because it comes with the other 2 games they've made. I don't really care for those games.
Yeah, Flow.
Flower.
And Flow.
Yeah, Flow and Flower.
Yeah, but I was just so like I saw that at like a store, and it was like marked down to like $10 or $15, and I'm like, I have to get this just so I can own a physical copy of it. And it's cool because it's got like a neat little like reversible cover with the Journey artwork and everything.
Nice.
But
I might have to pick it up then.
No, dude, definitely do so. I mean, it's especially since you've got the soundtrack, it'll go like really well with that collection.
It's really funny because like my number 1 and 2 on my list, I came to them so late. Like I discovered Journey 2 years ago because it was on sale for like £4, about $6 on the PlayStation Store. And I was like, I've heard a lot of things about this game. I'm gonna buy it. Now, if I'm correct, it came out in like 2012 on the PS3 originally.
Yeah, something like that.
So that's a long time to just jump on a game that's been getting immense praise and then realizing, wait, this game is actually incredible. Like, where have I been?
Yeah, right.
So yeah. Anyway, my number 1, I I've not enjoyed the game as much as I have enjoyed this one from start to finish. Mass Effect 2.
Found it right
Fuck.
there. Love that game.
What a game.
That was the second game ever that I told my wife, leave me alone. Don't talk to me unless it's dire, unless you really need me. I was so hyped up coming in from the first game. I love the first game so much that like I was literally a giddy like little kid again. Like when I first getting my first copies of those early Final Fantasies, my dad coming home and handing me it, and me like not knowing like I knowing I should go put this in my system right now, but I can't move because I'm like so excited.
I actually played the trilogy using Xbox One backward compatibility.
Awesome.
My brother's got an Xbox One,
yeah.
So he went to work, and I was like, because he's a big fan of the trilogy as well, and he's just like, have you not played these yet? I was like, no. He goes, what are you doing? Fucking play them. I was like, all right, well. So I used these Xbox, signed into my old Xbox 360 account, and played them. And yeah, the funny thing is, I didn't like the first game. I thought it was a janky piece of shit. I love the characters, I love the world, the universe, the world building that's what kept me in.
Mm-hmm.
But number 2, mate, oh my god, number 2 is like probably the best sequel in gaming. Like, it's just fucking incredible.
I often compare Mass Effect 2 to The Dark Knight for the like Batman series, and
right, yeah.
In the type of comparison is that the first one has to establish everything. It has to introduce you to all these new alien races, characters, places, enemy types, weapons, powers. It's ships, and there's so much lore, and there's so much codex. There's so much stuff to read, so much stuff to listen to get immersed into this. And it has to tell a story. It has so much pressure on it to establish Shepard as your character, as a certain type of character, as Saren as this character, this background story and looming story of the Reapers, all this stuff. It's so packed, and Mass Effect 2 can just be this awesome story with its own pace, its own flow, and all it has to do is focus on story and characters. And all this other stuff is already. It doesn't have to go into deep dive into what the history of everything is. It can just exist, and that's where you're going to get all these side characters, all these other characters who just get the time to shine. And everybody's got their own favorites from the crew, but to me, there's not like I could sit here and say I like this one more than this one, but there's story elements for every single crew member that are just awesome to play through.
It's one game as well where it's just like this one trilogy of games where it's like certain characters will die. Obviously, it's different for everybody else, and it's funny because like certain characters died in mine, and my friend was like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm just like, I just didn't invest the time in building the relationship with these people. Like Jack in number 2, the badass prison convict girl.
Yeah.
She hated my guts. She hated my character, and I was just like, oh well. And she dies at the end. She dies in the whole big finale attack at the end, and I was like, oh, bye Jack, see you later. And my mate was like, fucking hell, but my ending was pretty good. Only 2 people died at my ending in Mass Effect 2. I was like, get in, only 2 deaths. I shouldn't be, that shouldn't be like, yes, I should be like, oh, no. Although I haven't like recapped, so I've kind of forgotten a lot about my actual playthrough of that, in terms of like who survived and who died. I remember Jack dying because I was like, oh, bye Jack. I remember just laughing and just saying goodbye to her because she hated my character so much. Because I kept being on the other girl's side. I forget her name as well. I'm terrible. It's my favourite game of all time. I don't even know these characters' names.
Miranda?
Her, yeah.
Because you have
romanced her.
You have that
I
situation
romanced her as well.
You have the situation between Jack and Miranda, and also the same with Tali and Legion, where they're at each other's throats. And you actually you either have to pick a side, or your Paragon or Renegade level has to be, or your Persuasion or whatever, it needs to be high enough to be able to get them both to back down without costing them their loyalty to you. And then once you lose their loyalty, there's a high chance that they could possibly die in the suicide mission. I know for me, my first run, I lost Morden, and I was devastated by that. I'm like, I love this little Solarian. I'm like, at first I thought he was like, well, this guy's kind of weird. And then next thing I know, I'm loving him and loving his little quirks and him singing these big songs. And he's just this awkward character. I'm like, man, this guy is like so me on like a lot of levels in real life.
He has such a, thing is though, he has such a beautiful send off. If he survives Mass Effect 2, he has a beautiful send off in Mass Effect 3.
Yes, and it just goes so well with his character arc, and likewise also, if you go Renegade Mass Effect 3, and you sabotage the genophage cure, do you know what happens with that?
I can't remember. I've not played it in a long time.
It's
about a year or so.
Okay, so if you're gonna,
I've got the worst memory. Just to let you know, yeah.
So Morden's like, we're gonna cure. I'm gonna fix the wrongs of my, of this whole thing, and then Shepard's deciding to sabotage it, and Morden won't go through with it, and he's gonna defy you and go cure them, and you have to shoot him.
Oh no!
And then it sucks because then there's a whole conversation with Garrus later on where, he commends you for having the courage to cure the Krogan. He goes, it may just be my bias, but he was like, I don't know if I would have. He goes, I definitely would have struggled with that. And then that's where you can admit to him that you sabotaged it, because Garrus thinks that Morden died sacrificing himself for the genophage, and then he goes, really? And he doesn't. He just goes, I just can't see Morden going along with that. And Shepard doesn't say anything and just stands up, and Garrus gets it. He's like, damn war. And then he just doesn't say anything. He understands. But I'm like, during my Renegade playthrough, I was like, every single time it was just heart wrenching to see these characters and do these things. I'm like, no, you deserve so much better.
Do you know? In the first game,
mm-hmm.
you go down to that mission where there's a group making a cure for the genophage.
Yes.
And I've forgotten the Krogan that you've got with you. I forget his name. Him. He died in my first playthrough, in my actual story. Because, I need to preface this actually. The way I played the Mass Effect trilogy, I had auto level up on.
Okay.
So I just played it as a straight kind of cover shooter, more or less.
Yeah.
Because I'm lazy, I don't really, I'm not really into statting your character too much.
Sure.
So I had auto leveling. So whatever it did, it didn't do it very well, because basically he wants to go along with whoever's making the cure, and I'm trying to persuade him down, we got a mission, you've got to stick with us. And then my partner, I forget her name, she just shoots him in the head, he dies. I'm like, oh. And it's like, again, I'm going to say my friend, because I got a friend who talks Mass Effect with me. He goes, you killed Rex? I was like, I'm sorry, I tried to help him, but my partner just shot him in the face. I was like, alright. Well, he's dead now.
Oh, man.
I had a terrible run, actually, come to think of it.
You definitely need to replay through and definitely have Rex live. Rex is awesome.
He is a good character.
I don't know if you have access to any of the DLC. No? Try to. I don't know when or how, but Mass Effect 2, you have to play the Lair of the Shadow Broker DLC, where you get Liara back and you go and you take out the Shadow Broker. She becomes the new Shadow Broker. And then in Mass Effect 3, there's a DLC called the Citadel DLC, where it literally doesn't match the tone of the game. You know how Mass Effect 3 is like this very somber, kind of like everything's ending, oh my gosh. You know. Citadel DLC is like this action comedy with all these Mass Effect tropes. Like you get Rex back, and you're facing a Shepard clone that Cerberus built, and he's there to take over. And you guys end up getting captured at one point, and Shepard's hung up because the clone Shepard said, I should go. And your Shepard's like, I don't sound like that, do I? Really? And he's like, yeah, pretty much. And then Rex is like, wait a minute. Didn't we used to win these things back in the old days? Huh? Oh yeah. And literally they're almost nonchalant about the whole thing. It's not really a big threat to them, but they're it is a big deal because he's trying to steal the Normandy, and you have to go have a showdown with him on the Normandy. And you almost have that Harrison Ford Air Force One thing with him, where you can either try to help him or tell him to get off your ship or whatever in the cargo bay. It's an awesome run. The Mass Effect trilogy is one of the best story trilogies ever, even with the whole ending debacle. To be honest though,
By the time I got onto Mass Effect 3, I was quite burnt out on just that kind of game because I played the first 2 games back to back. I put 14 hours. I basically smashed through the first game really quickly because I thought it was a bit chunky. But I put 14 hours into Mass Effect 1, and I put 60 hours into Mass Effect 2. This is back to back, going like boom. And by the time I got to Mass Effect 3, I wasn't that invested in getting rid of it, so I was just just a bit of a slog to get through it. And I kind of knew about the ending, so I wasn't really looking forward to actually getting to the end because I kind of knew. Kind of spoiled, but what's there to spoil really? Because it's not much.
There's not much to spoil in there at all.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think it's going to do it for us here today. Thank you so much for joining us, Jason, from over across the pond in the good old UK.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming on. There's still much more we could talk about, but we're going to have you back on again sometime in the future.
I appreciate it, man. That's cool.
Definitely enjoy hearing different perspectives. I love hearing, it's like we're all gamers. We all have different perspectives and different likes and dislikes about certain things. And it's one thing when you click with somebody and it's like you like all the same things, but when you hear like, well, yes, I don't like that, but here's why. And it's I like hearing that because even if you disagree, like I love hearing those points. I love absolutely. But there's we can both agree that Mass Effect 2 is one of the greatest sequels ever made. We can both agree that The Last of Us is one of the greatest single story games ever made.
Yeah.
Bar none, as we've talked about. And, I can't wait to get into more of your gaming history next time. Talk about some of your favorite consoles and whatnot.
That'd be cool, man.
Awesome. Well, Mike, thank you for suffering through this episode.
Yeah. It was a good episode.
It was. And I'm very, very proud of you for, even though you kind of trailed off there at the end, man, you hung in there.
Yeah.
You hung in there. Of course, you can find Jason's Podcast and Stone, 100% dedicated to iced motherfucking Earth on YouTube, on Podbean. Go check that podcast out. It is a labor of love between him and his co-host Chuck. They put on a great show. If you're at all interested in heavy metal or want to learn more about Iced Earth, please go check those guys out. They have just such a great show that they're doing over there. And they also go join the group. Go join the group on Facebook. I'm in there as well, and we have a really active community in there. Always talking about something.
Yeah, I'm very proud of the community that's been built on there. Like over 700 members. It's a great little, and it's great to hear, like you said about opinions. It's great to hear people being civil and disagreeing, but telling why they're going to be disagreeing.
Sure.
Stuff like that. It's great that we've got so many people in you can even translate this to the gaming community. You've got this massive communities that can disagree but get along while disagreeing, unless you're a subset of the gaming community, which I would call Reddit. But we don't speak about that. But yeah, I'd appreciate it if everyone could check out my podcast and Stone. Thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it. It's been fun, man.
Absolutely. It's been great having you on. We're going to have to do this sometime again in the very near future. It's been great to sit down and talk with you. Until next time, guys, please check us out on all of our social medias and all that stuff. We're Game Addicts Play on pretty much everything. Check us out on Twitch. I'm streaming there and playing some games. We're going to be bringing the podcast there soon. Game Addicts Play on Twitch. We're on YouTube's where all that stuff gets backed up. This podcast goes there as well. And, of course, we're available on pretty much every single podcasting platform that there is available. Of course, you got iTunes, Spotify. We're on the Podbean app. We're on Google Play Music. Nobody uses that. And then we're on Stitcher and stuff like that. So download us wherever you can. Follow us. We'll be there. We're interactive for the most part, and unless we're on vacation. What?
I posted something on Facebook.
You did. I saw it. I'm so proud of you. Oh, my little mic.
That's the first time I've ever posted on there because I am horrible with social media. I am the guy that you do not want to be doing social media at all because I'm I'll post that. 6 months later, I forgot to post that. Oh, well.
Yeah, I'm so proud of you. Thank you guys so much for checking out this episode, and go check out Jason's stuff as well. Until next time, I've been Brendo. He's been Mike. He's been Jason. Game on, guys. Have a good one. Later.